Welcome to Prolific Mind Podcast. I am the host, Anquinette Irvin. This podcast is geared towards promoting mental wellness and personal and professional development. You can support the podcast by following me on Instagram at Prolific Mind Podcast. You can also follow me on TikTok _the Prolific Therapist, and on Twitter, the Prolific One. You can leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and I also have a YouTube channel. So you can find me on YouTube at Prolific Mind. Today I wanted to talk about Escape and SWV new TV show. So I was watching the show as I was typing my notes at work. And I caught episode 2. So I'm not going over episode 1. And I'm like, my listeners can apply this for personal and professional development. Because one of the things to shed light on is communication. And not only communication, this is a podcast that's geared toward, mental wellness, mental health. It shows you that mental health is not always severe diagnosis. I know it's negative connotation and stigmas associated with mental health, where sometimes people associate therapy with the crisis. So as I'm looking at the episode, all I'm thinking of is certain V codes, such as parent-child relational conflict, sibling conflict. And that's what I saw on episode 2, and just deep-rooted childhood issues that kind of spilled over into adulthood when it's unresolved. So we'll go over some talking points of what I saw on the TV show of SWV and Escape. Let me just say those ladies are so beautiful. Escape and SWV. I love their music. I love the what did they do? The versus battle that they did, and it's probably how the show came about. So I did catch a snippet of episode 1. But I didn't want to sit through it and watch it. I want to get my ideas out while they was fresh. And I also took notes because it seemed like episode 1 was just pretty much touching on how they came about of formulating their groups again after they all had broken up. But I love the versus battle. So on episode 1, when I did say that I saw a few things on there, Coco stated that SWV won, of course. Rightfully so. It's her group. But for me, when I watched the versus battle, both groups are talented. But for me, it was Escape. And the reason why, it shows hard work beats talent when talent don't work. Yes, most people say that SWV is the better singers, better vocalists. However, Escape put on a show, and Tiny, when she sung Tonight, oh my God, I'd be rooting for Tiny because it was like her talent was concealed in a bottle. And it's amazing what Tiny do when she does go in the studio and make music. There are songs that her and Candy created that I love. That's not mainstream or commercial, but I love their song Superwoman. So I would say for me, it was Escape because they put on a show. You can tell that they practice, and my heart went out to Candy because Candy actually put in the work, where she sometimes read the comments and see the things that people say where they talk about her runs or how she sing, and you can tell that Candy was practicing. I was rooting for Candy. I was rooting for Escape. Both groups were amazing and brought back the 90s nostalgia. Although I was a young girl, but I remember hearing those lyrics growing up, and now that I'm older, I love it. But for me, it's Escape because they came to perform. You can tell that they practiced, they put on a show, and hard work beats talent when talent don't work. I'm not saying that SWV didn't rehearse or anything like that, but for me, the win was Escape because I saw that they put in the work. So let's just go over the TV show because it's not even about the versus battle, but they did mention it on episode 1, which I didn't watch the full thing. So when I did started to watch it while I'm while I was typing my notes at work from the beginning, but I watched it at home as well because I really want to get in detail. But at work, the two things that I was noticing as I was typing was the conflict between the siblings, Tamika and Tocha. I don't know, is the part where they sat down with their mom was episode 1 or 2, but from what I was hearing and watching, that Tamika feel that the mom always take Tasha's side. So that's where, when I said the unresolved childhood and sibling-child relation and parental conflict comes in at, like the mom take her side. I did see where she sat down, Tamika sat down and she was talking to Todd from SWV, and she said, I always was taking my sister's side. And then on one episode, Candy did agree with that too. And she was like, I used to take my mom's side because that was the only time that I would get accepted by my mom. So in the group, you may see the dynamic of this girl always defending her sister. She's taking her sister's side. And that's how people talk, right? You look out for your sister. You help your sister. But with her, it was even deeper than being told. It was because I get accepted by my mom. Now, Tasha telling her that's not true, or they not taking responsibility for the action. Two things can be true. Two people can grow up in the same household and have totally two different perspectives on how something happened. That's her truth. That's how she feels. And behind those tears, whether she vocalized it to the group, whether she vocalized it to Todd, and each time that she expressed herself, she cried. That's how, for me, I feel that it is some truth behind her feeling like she always had to defend her sister, or that the truth behind her mother takes Tasha's side. There's some truth in that. And it also showed on a television show as well. So there tends to be some sibling conflict that rolled over into the escape group, and how unresolved issues follow over. So for instance, at home, you are used to your mother taking up for you, or the golden child. Now when you in the group, the dynamic shift, because you have Candy here that's very vocal. You're working with two people that's raised in totally two different household, where again, you may be the golden child, but you have people that's going to point you out on your behaviors. And now that they're pointed out, they're the problem and you're not. I see a lot of blaming as well with Tasha. She doesn't see anything that she does wrong. Tamika said, I take my sister's side to feel accepted. And I don't think her narrative is false. She's been consistent with it. Episode 2, I love how Candy used her words to communicate herself. She said, I feel. She was using I statements. I feel like we should get a new management. Someone we can all, where she included everyone. Inclusive, not exclusive. We all would feel comfortable with working with. So not only did she come up, it was more of a conflict resolution. The conflict may have been everyone doesn't like the management that they had. The manager, whether it's Tasha's husband or someone that they knew. The resolution to resolve this is, let's just get someone that we all feel comfortable, which I think is fair, because sometimes you don't want to miss business with pleasure. Because now when they're mad at your husband because he's the manager, or your family member, you're going to feel offended because that's my man. Right? So I think it is fair to choose a manager where it's not the husband. It could be that Rocky can be a problem, right? Because it showed where he was in her ear. And Candy said that she seems to not make any decision if it's not ran through him first. And when you can't think on your own, and I get it, sometimes when you're married, you're going to run ideas by your husband or by your mate or whoever you with. But you don't want to be codependent upon a person where you can't make no decisions without my man. It can't be like that, sis. And now it's what personal problem getting mixed with business, whether it's because of Tasha and her husband management, or whether it's Tasha and her sister because they have unresolved issues. She said that we can't move forward until this gets fixed. That's personal, baby, not business. This ain't got nothing to do with the group. And sometimes I feel like people's ego get in the way. For me, my message to Tasha is get out of your own way. And we all have to do that sometimes in life. I tell myself that, I journal about it, get out of your own way. Sometimes we can be our own biggest problem. But that's self-awareness, and that got to be for someone that's really willing, ready, and able to change. If you're not, you don't see anything wrong with what you're doing, you're going to be stuck. I agree with Tamika when she said that Tasha energy, it was her energy. And sometimes when she comes into the room, it seems as though she already guarded, on defense. Like she's not listening to understand. I'm guarded. And that's just your energy. And I know sometimes people say, I don't care what other people think of me. But perception matters. You want to be aware of how people perceive you to a certain extent. It is important, especially when you're working with the group or just in life. I love how they shed light on Taj and her husband relationship. I love Black healthy love. So I like that part, that dynamic. Coco and her mother. Coco said that she had a close relationship with her mother. Her mother passed the singing skills down to Coco. Mother stated that Coco was learning how to sing before she could talk. And I would wonder how that was an interesting dynamic because Coco mom is religious and, they consider R&B music secular. And Coco's like mom started to change her point of view once she got her a car. Tasha, you stated out of your own mouth. I'm acting like I'm talking to Tasha, like she in front of me. But Tasha stated out of her mouth, I just want peace. So this is what, Tasha, you said it. This is what you wanted. So you can ask yourself, when you're going into decisions, whether it's going to talk to your sister or whether you're talking to escape. Since you said that you want peace, I want you to think of, I don't say I want you like I'm talking to the girl. You should think about that when you make decisions or when you begin to speak. Think about, is my action or my words, is it going to be peaceful or is it going to be a problem? Because basically your words and your action so far is a problem. So you the one said that you want peace. So keep that in mind. And that's a skill that I apply. Like, is this a peaceful or is this going to be a problem when I'm communicating with someone? I don't do it all the time. We all fall short. I don't do it all the time. But if it's the area where I say that I want to make change in, I have to talk to myself. Tasha did a business meeting without the girls' knowledge. And I get it. I can see both sides of it. I can see both sides. So we're not going to just thrash and get her thrashing. Where she said, I didn't tell the girls because I like to pray over things. And I get that most people want things to come into fruition before you speak on it. And that came from when she said there were things that she spoke on in the past and it didn't fall through. So I get that. However, that was a problem before, where they felt that you were doing things behind their back and trying to go solo. So that's why I feel that after it passed, they should be at least the first person you tell. But you also should keep your song in mind. Understanding. There's no way that we can work it out. If we don't pull together, all they want is you to communicate and tell them where you stand. Tell the group. You don't have to get them specific of what you're doing. But hey, I'm with this group, but I'm also working on something else. Because that's the problem with your group. Now, had that not been a problem, then okay, you might not have to communicate. But that's happened to be your problem in the past of going solo or doing things. And granted, people have the right to grow and go solo. We talk about solo all the time, but for SWV and Escape, you all sold more in numbers when you worked as a group, okay? When you worked as a group. And you work together better as a group. So whatever the issue is, I hope that you ladies are able to resolve it, because I love SWV and I love Escape. And the show is an interesting dynamic, because now we're going to see how both group is when it emerge. But however, there's personal problems that's spilling over into both group. Coco and Tocha, since people have said that you all are the best singer, I think sometimes your egos kind of get in your way of the group. Lily of SWV has always been the happy-go-lucky one to me. Well, she's just on the go and ready for whatever. And her history, because I watched her interviews on Breakfast Club, and then I just saw a snippet of this show. So I think she said she lost both parents at an early age or whatever. So in her moment, any little thing is gratitude for her, because she remember of not having things or the lack thereof. So with her, it was escape for her. Her survival instinct kicked in. Taj seemed to be the level-headed one, think things through, the common ground. But however, overall, I'm just looking forward to what this show is going to bring. I hope that it comes to some resolution towards the end. And I know that I hate that with reality TV, it has to be some type of drama because of numbers. They get caught up in who's watching the show, so they know that society loves drama. They have to bring it. And I'm tired of it, because I'm seeing marriages, relationships, and friendships break up because of these things. Although there was problems before there, but somehow production has a way of, I think, dismantling relationships and friendships. Overall, great show. And when I say that I tie in things to make it relatable, like to pop culture, so this is what it will look like, where someone may go into a therapist to talk about. And in the beginning, I was like, therapist not always a crisis, but to each his own. To the sister, this may have been a crisis for them. But I'm basically saying that it's not always schizophrenia or bipolar or, depression or suicidal ideation that people always think. You can come to therapy for communication, conflict resolution skills, family dynamics, because as you can see, it's affecting them in their adult life. And we can't heal what we don't reveal, in the words of Jay-Z. So I love this show. I want to talk about episode 2. I don't know what I'll go in episode 3 or 4 or 5, but this just stood out to me. And I want to do an episode. And I'm like, let's get it out here. And hopefully this can help heal and work on friendships, relationships, sibling conflict, or how you all communicate with the ones around you and your loved one. Or you being able to see how unresolved childhood issues are affecting your friendships or your relationships, or in your workplace, of how you communicate with people. It can be environmental. Certain things start at home, as it was with the Latasha and her sister, because everybody don't communicate that way. Or what you may have been able to get away with your sister and your mom, you're not able to get away with that when working with others. So it's almost like she was rewarded for bad behavior. And that when it's someone's like Candy or even Tiny, or someone may call it out, you may see it as a problem or conflict, where it's not. It's just putting a mirror in front of your face. And this not even to thrash her. This is for her to look at some things, some self-reflecting. I have to do self-reflecting. That's for anybody. If you want a spiritual growth, personal growth, whether you want to go professionally, personally, or all around, you have to be able to look at self. I am at a place where I'm saying, what did I do wrong? How could I have responded differently? Or maybe I'm the problem. Or what role did I play? That sometimes in a demise, you have to ask yourself, what role did I play? Could I have responded differently? Because sometimes we be the problem. Sometimes you be the problem. We be the problem. It's not always other people. You're not going to grow if everything is the blame game. But again, thanks for tuning in to Prolific Mind Podcast. I would love to hear your all reviews and thoughts on this episode. So please leave a comment. Talk to me. I'll talk back. Again, thanks for supporting the podcast and thank you for listening.